making that tutorial for you again real quick. Let me start with a clean slate here, and I'll get you started. The idea about this tutorial is that it's based on what's called applied force. Boop, right? I'm using a program to draw online here with my computer. That's you actually messaging me on Facebook if you can hear that little boop. Okay, so everything has, okay, this is what's called applied force. Think of it as gravity. Okay, now we can't really see applied force, we can only see its, and there's only two things that you have to learn here. This is very simple. This is what a lot of classical painters use, and animators, and comic book artists, and anime people, and fashion designers, and everybody uses this. And it's like the core of figure drawing. And it's really simple because you only have to remember two things. Okay, so applied force is, we can't see applied force, but we can see its effect on things. And that's where the other guy comes in. It's called directional force. And what that does is it shows us how much force is being applied to something. See, this is directional force. Okay, now you think, well, okay, big deal. What's the big deal? This simple paradigm can make you have this intuitiveness to your drawing where you actually can feel your way through a drawing, and it creates a sense for volume, mass, how heavy something is, how big something, if you have a column supporting a wall, you could intuitively look at that column and say, hey, that looks pretty skinny, and would that really hold that wall up, you know? And same thing with like characters, like is this leg sturdy enough to carry the weight of this character? So an application, I'll give you an example. Clean the thing. Say we put a ruler on top of 2 cans of soup. I know this is awesome, right? So here's the tabletop, boop, and this is the ruler, cans of soup, and soup, ruler. Now the big deal is, once we apply directional force to that ruler, it's going to change shape. I'm going to add another key here, boop, and what's going to happen, let's zoom in real quick, that ruler is going to bend. Sorry to be all sketchy, but yeah, this is through the computer. And that bending of the ruler is our directional force. And what it does is, again, the more force being pushed down on this, I'll even add another layer, boop, and then move this key over here. So the more we push down on here, the more force is applied to that ruler. See how extreme that bend is? And I know you're thinking, like, big deal. What's the big deal with this? Boop. Well, the idea is that we see people with physical forces applied to them every day. People walking down the street, people holding bags in their hands, people carrying stuff. And, you know, it's like a subliminal thing that we have about images. So if we can add this to our illustrations, it actually gives a sense of, a sense of realism. So, like, say for instance, what I do is I teach my students, say you're drawing a figure, and I only use 3 shapes to draw a figure. Actually, right? I'm just going to draw a quick figure here. I have my own techniques and ways of drawing things. Now the idea is, say you have your figure drawing, it has force being pushed down on it. Now every human body is reacting, it's in a stasis of being pushed down upon and actually pushing back up against gravity, so you have this kind of stasis that everything exists in. So, for instance, I'm going to put a foot out here, boop, right? To make this character look like he has weight, see, here's the directional force, and the legs being spread out makes him look like, he has weight being applied to him. If you ever want to learn the shapes for figure drawing, there's only 3 that you have to learn, and then you just reiterate them over and over. It's a trip how you draw figures if you want to learn fashion and whatnot. Excuse my figure. Now if we were going to draw the arm separately on here, see, like say if he was holding a rock, well, that energy would be pulling back around the back of his back, and his arms would come down like this. Let me clean this up a little bit. Now if he's holding a huge hammer, and again, these are only 3-shaped cylinders. Say he's holding a giant hammer. What's happening is we're just drawing these 3D shapes as accurate as possible. Maybe I'll make this equidistant here, so it looks like he's carrying this. And clean that up a little bit. And there's ways of drawing cylinders and stuff like that I can show you later. But see the fact that now that his arms are down here holding this, you can go in and I would clean up his shoulders actually and make them look like they're reacting to what's going on here. So the weight's being pulled down across here. This is, this would be your directional force across his shoulders. I'm just finding the elbows. Boop. I know this is like really kind of a thing. You can apply this to paintings. You can apply this to fashion drawing and stuff like this. See how he's bent over now? And I make the front of his body look like it's moving forward. Now it looks like he's carrying something kind of heavy, Just draw some feet. And that's kind of a crash course for, applied force versus directional force. So basically you have forces that are being applied, just to kind of reiterate, and you have other forces that show those forces. Again, you don't see the actual application, you don't see the applied force, you see the directional force, and that's what shows you how much force is being applied. The directional force is like, it could be, you could apply it to hair, you could apply it to a big fat belly, you could apply it to a strap on a purse or a machine gun, somebody holding, a gun or something heavy, and you can really sell it by making that character. Like this whole posture of this guy here is selling that maybe this thing's kind of heavy, And if you want, I can get you into some really good figure drawing with basics with what are called abstracts or primitives. And again, there's only 3 of them, so it's a sphere, cylinder, and what they call a spatula, but it's basically a cube. But hopefully this helps. I'm just going to show this to you, and now I can do another one for you that shows you those shapes, how to put them together, and some really good ways of, like, again, you have that face that you draw that's really good. There's a layered method for figure drawing that works really really good, where you draw the figure first, then you draw the face last, and then the hands, or face and hands last. And the idea is you start with, I'll do that in the next tutorial where I'll show you how to go from bigger objects, bodies, and then go into detail and finalize the drawing. Alright, well hopefully that helped. I don't know if that works out for you, but let me know.